I'm Candace, and I'm so glad you're here. Today is a super exciting day. It's my little cousin's 5th birthday, and he's coming over this afternoon to celebrate. I thought I'd make him feel special by decorating the treehouse. I got a bunch of balloons, and on each one, I'm writing something that I think makes him unique and special. Check it out. This one says funny, because he tells the best jokes. And that's just one of the many cool things about my cousin. I totally love birthdays, and it's not just because of the cupcakes, although that's a huge plus. Birthdays are great for a much bigger reason. I love to make people feel special by reminding them that their lives matter. It's important to me because God says that people's lives matter to Him, and that includes you. He created you unique, which means there's no one else exactly like you. You are priceless to God, and your whole life is important to Him. Speaking of unique, this morning I was actually reading in the Bible about someone who was definitely unique. Here, let me show you. The Bible is God's true message to us about Himself, and it's filled with stories of people who God cared about. This story is from the book of Judges, over in the first part of the Bible called the Old Testament. It's about a guy named Samson, whose special life was a part of God's promise. That is both interesting and unique. Let's check it out together in Judges 13 through 16. The life of Samson. An angel told an Israelite couple they would have a son. They made a special promise to God about their son. Part of their promise was never to cut their son's hair. They named their son Samson and kept their promise to God. God filled Samson with great physical strength, giving Samson power to fight against some enemies of God's people, called the Philistines. When he grew up, Samson fell in love with a Philistine woman named Delilah. The Philistine leaders said to Delilah, "Get Samson to tell you where his great strength comes from, so we can overpower him." So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me, where does your great strength come from? How could someone tie you up and make you helpless?" Samson told her, "If someone ties me up with 7 fresh strings, I will become weak like any other man." Delilah tied up Samson while the Philistine men waited to attack him. She called out, "Samson, the Philistines are here." But Samson snapped the strings, and the Philistines still did not know the secret of his strength. Delilah begged Samson 2 more times to tell her his secret. Once, she tried tying him up with new ropes. Another time, she weaved his hair in a loom. But both times, Samson easily escaped. What's happening here is so interesting. Samson's parents made promises to God, and one of those promises was never to cut Samson's hair. In exchange for their obedience, God gave Samson a lot of physical strength. I told you Samson was unique. But then he fell in love with a girl named Delilah, and the Philistines tried to get her to set a trap to trick Samson. But Samson escaped her traps over and over again. For a while. Let's see what happened next. After Delilah kept nagging Samson, he finally told her, "My hair has never been cut because I've kept a special promise to God from birth. If I'm shaved, my strength will leave me, and I'll become weak like any other man." Delilah knew that Samson finally told the truth. She got Samson to fall asleep, and the Philistine leaders came and shaved his hair. When he woke up, he was not able to escape. The Philistines took Samson to prison and made him blind. After some time, the Philistines gathered to celebrate and brought Samson out to entertain them. But Samson's hair had begun to grow back. Samson placed his hands on the pillars supporting the Philistine temple. He called out to God, "Please remember me. Give me strength, God, just one more time." Samson pushed the pillars with all his might. The temple fell on the Philistines, freeing the Israelites from their enemies. Delilah eventually learned Samson's power source, and in one moment, his whole life changed. Samson made some wrong choices, like trusting Delilah instead of obeying God. Because of that, he ended up losing his hair and the special strength God had given him. But even though Samson sinned, God didn't leave him. Samson's life still mattered to God. When he prayed and asked God to give him strength one more time, God heard him and answered his prayer. We all find ourselves in times when we are feeling weak, broken, or like we just can't win. One big reason for this is sin. Sin is when we do what we think is best instead of following what God says is best. The Bible teaches that we all have sin in our lives, and sin separates us from God. Kind of like how Samson's wrong choice led to his hair getting cut, making him weak and unable to fight off the Philistines. Sin leaves us hopeless, weak, and unable to live God's way on our own. But the great news is that just like Samson called out to God for help, we can call out to God and be set free from our sin. God sent his son Jesus to live a sinless life, die on the cross in our place, and take the punishment for our sin. When we call out to Jesus, he hears our prayers and fixes our relationship with God. God gave Samson his power back so he could defeat God's enemies and fulfill God's plan for the Israelites. In a similar way, when we know Jesus, we have the power of God working in our lives too, because Jesus defeated our biggest enemy, which is sin. Samson's life was valuable to God. Even when Samson made wrong choices, God had a big plan to work through him. Why? Because Samson's life mattered to God, and your life matters to God too. God designed you to know him, follow him, and help others know him too. Samson was unique and special, and so are you. All right, I'm gonna get back to finishing up the balloons for my cousin. I know he's gonna feel so special when he sees them. I hope you remember that you are special too, especially to God. I'll see you later.